Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Color and Scribbles. My name is Rachel, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about expectation versus reality and how it can affect your art performance. So I think this is, at least for me, this is one of my biggest frustrations, and I think it's a very common hindrance for artists, especially new artists, and it's when your vision for a piece does not match your talent or execution of that piece. And what I mean by that is when you have this grand vision and you know, like you can imagine every little detail and you know exactly how you want it to look, and then when you put the pen on the paper, it just does not work the way you pictured it in your head. It's incredibly frustrating when that happens. And this is something that I think stops a lot of people from pursuing art any further, is they just get frustrated when their expectations of a piece do not match up to the reality of that piece. And it's really unfortunate, because this is something that happens for literally everybody, and it's a very natural part of the learning process. Like, being frustrated with your talent is very common. I still struggle with it, and that's actually why I wanted to talk about it, because I was really struggling with it this week myself, and I just wanted to try to encourage anybody else that might be struggling with this. So just know, first off, that you're not alone if you are feeling this way, and that it's a growing experience. So if you are feeling frustrated with your talent, you can harness that and use it to improve. And you're never going to get to a point where you're not frustrated with yourself, I'm sorry to say, because everybody always is improving as an artist. Like, you're always going to be growing. So you're always naturally going to be frustrated with where you currently are. But there are some ways that you can learn to work through it better and to kind of overcome the frustration that you might feel, even if you can't overcome the dissonance between the expectations and the reality of a piece. So I hope this isn't sounding too depressing. I don't mean it to sound like a downer. I really do want it to be encouraging, and I want you guys and ladies and people to understand that frustration is natural, but it doesn't mean that you should stop. You should keep going and push through. And you will also have pieces that you're very satisfied with, and that makes up for it, in my opinion. Like, that's the best feeling in the world. But anyways, so a couple things to get through or overcome your frustration. One thing that I like to do when I'm feeling frustrated with a piece is to switch mediums. So I typically work digitally, and if I'm feeling especially frustrated with a piece, I'll just put it down and switch over to a traditional medium, because this is something that I have much less pressure on myself for. So that's definitely something that I would recommend giving a try. If you're feeling very frustrated with yourself, maybe just try a new medium and something that you don't have any expectations for in the first place. So then you don't have to worry about that expectations versus reality dichotomy, because if you don't have any expectations, then there's nothing for you to like fail at for yourself, I guess. So I always like to do that. I pick up something that I know I'm not very good at, and I can just kind of relax and just mess around and goof off a little bit without any pressure. And that usually helps me feel better when I go back to whatever I was working on. Something else is just getting in the habit of being objective about your own work and trying to analyze as you go what things could be going better, basically. So this is a reason that I would argue that you should finish pieces even if you're not satisfied with them, because you can then go through each step of the process and also looking at the finished piece and analyze what went wrong and what you want to improve on. So that's very important for learning, is teaching yourself to look at your art not as this precious little thing that you've created, but as an object and a piece that you could do better next time, basically. So yeah, just try to learn not to get like too emotionally attached. Like, obviously you're going to be a little bit attached to a piece that you've made because you've poured your heart and soul into it, but you also have to be able to take a step back and kind of, that it helps let the frustration go if you're not super overly emotionally invested in it. So if you can just teach yourself to take a couple steps back, look at what went wrong, and figure out what you can do better next time, it helps reduce the stress next time, because then hopefully you won't have to deal quite as much with those same frustrations. And then another thing that kind of goes along with that, and this is the last tip, is to share your art with other artists and get critiques as much as you can. This basically just helps you build up a tough skin because other people are much more willing to tear apart your art than you are usually. So there's a lot of different Facebook pages and websites, depending on what kind of art you're into. And if anybody is interested in hearing more about that, I guess I'll leave a list in the video comments of a few places that I frequent and that I like to get critiques from. It also helps if you have any artist friends that you can go to directly, because strangers are not always willing to give you like a full critique. But if you know somebody, if you know some teachers, or just some really good artist friends whose opinions you trust, I would definitely also go to them and get a critique from them. So yeah, those are a few tips. If you're feeling frustrated with your artwork and if the expectation of a piece is not lining up with the reality of that piece, maybe try a couple of these things out. And yeah, like I said, just remember that you're not alone in this feeling. Everybody feels this way. I feel this way. Amazing artists feel this way. So it's natural. It's part of the learning process. You just got to keep pushing through. So I hope you have a great week. And yeah, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, let me know in the comments. I would also love to hear any ideas that you have for other topics I could breach, and consider checking out my Patreon if you enjoyed this. So thank you very much and have a great rest